Welcome back to my channel. This is Nikki of Nikki's Homemade Crafts. In order to crochet the mystery crochet along part 1, well, technically it's for all parts, you're going to need some yarn. We're using worsted weighted yarn, and specifically I'm using Premier's Anti-Pilling Everyday Medley Yarn. And I've got to tell you, all the anti-pilling yarns are really amazing. Okay, they're really easy to work with. They're one of my favorite acrylic yarns I have used probably since I started crocheting, like I don't even know, years, okay? And I loved using this yarn. And this specific one, the medley one, actually seems to be on sale quite often on Premier's website. So currently, as I'm filming this video, it's less than $2 per skein. So that's actually a pretty darn deal. So go check that out. There's a link down below in the description if you want to get your hands on some of them. Anyways, you're going to use 2 skeins. That means 2 colors, 1 each. Which colors you're picking is totally up to you. I like to use this reddish color here, although it may be hard to see on camera. But this one is called Currant, and then this one is called Gray Marble. So these are the 2 I'm using. I'm also using a 5mm hook. Be careful on the hooks if you are switching hooks in the middle of it. I've done that a few times, and yeah, it will change your tension. So make sure you stick with the same hook, not just the hook size. Okay, so for example, switching from a furls crochet hook to a, let's say, clover, or here in this case, a weak crochet dots hook, there will be a change in tension because the weight of the hook is different. So little heads up on that. Anyways, use the same hook and hook size throughout. It doesn't have to be a 5mm. This pattern is a little bit giving. Just make sure when I tell you that certain pieces have to be the same size, that you stick with that, okay? So certain pieces have to be the exact same size. And if that is all that matters, even if your project is bigger than mine or smaller than mine, that is totally fine. Just make sure that your pieces match. Wherever it has to match, make sure they match. That's all that matters. Even if you have more stitches or less rows or more rows, it really does not matter. Okay, so let's get started with part 1. You're only going to need 1 skein of yarn for that one. I'm going to start with the gray because this one is a little bit harder to see. So we're starting with the gray. Pick one of your colors. It does not matter which one. And we'll get started. Now you will chain 30 plus 2. I'm going to make a smaller one just so that you can see it better. When it's really long, it's harder to see on camera. So I'm making a shorter one. Mine is only 10, but you're going to do 30 plus 2, so 32. That means the first 2 will not count as part of your stitches. So this is linked crochet, so you're going to need a chain in order to start your round or row. We're first making a row, then turning it into a round. Okay, so I'm going to also go into the back bump of my stitches. We're going to start with linked double crochet. So you're going to insert your hook into the second chain from the hook and pull up a loop. That is your yarn over for the double crochet. Now you're going to insert your hook into the following stitch, just like you normally would for a double crochet, and yarn over and pull through. So you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So that is your first stitch. That chain here on the side, or if you want to call it starting chain, turning chain, whatever you want to call it, will not count. This is just there so we can start your stitches, okay? So it's kind of the foundation of the stitch, so it can hold on to something because it's supposed to be linked. So now, in order to do the next one, you're going to look at this bar right here. It's a horizontal bar, but usually when I start, I kind of tilt it a little bit. It's easier to hold with my hand, but technically it's a horizontal bar. And as you probably have noticed now, it is linked crochet is part of the Tunisian crochet family. So this is actually technically 2 stitches of Tunisian simple stitch, and because we're using it in this direction, it was created for double crochets because it's the same height. That's how linked crochet was developed. Anyways, let's get back to it. So we're going through this bar right here and yarn over and pull through. So again, that is your yarn over for the double crochet. Now insert your hook into the following stitch. I'm still going into the back bump, as you can see right here. Yarn over and pull through. So again, finish it up like a regular double crochet. Now you're going to continue on until the end of the round. At that point, you should have 30 linked double crochet stitches. Now remember that chain doesn't count. So there was 2 of them on this chain here. Okay, so that doesn't count. So you should have 30 because you did 30 plus 2. So you should have 30 linked double crochet stitches by the end of the row. But we're not done at that point. So I'm just going to let me snap right to it. Now that we're here, now we're going to turn slightly in order to crochet down here. So that means because we went into the back bump, we're now going to use the leftover V's right here in order to turn this row into a round. Okay. So it's going to be a little awkward here in the beginning because you have to kind of tilt here 180 degrees, but trust me, it's doable. We're going to turn this row into a round, and that means by the end of the round, you will have 60 stitches per round. So what you're going to do is going to continue just like you did before. So insert your hook into those horizontal bars, yarn over, pull through. And as you can tell here, we're going to have to do a second stitch into the same stitch because, you know, we're going on to the opposite side of your chain. And you can weave your yarn here in at the same time. So insert your hook into the same stitch right here. Yarn over and pull through. And now you're going to finish it up like a regular double crochet like you have before. Now again, for this next stitch, insert your hook into that horizontal bar, yarn over and pull through. And now go into the following stitch. So you can have to look, you just use this stitch. So now we're going to go into this one. So just make sure you don't skip any stitches or chains, however you want to say that. Okay. And now you're just going to continue on until you have 1 stitch left. Okay, so I'm going to show you how you're going to connect it to the first stitch back here so that it seems almost seamless. Okay, because we have linked stitches, so you want to make sure you don't have a gap at the very end when you do a slip stitch. So I'll show you how to do that. So I'm going to continue on until I have 1 stitch left, and I'll show you that. Let me snap right to it. Okay, here we go. So now we need to do 1 more stitch back here, but connecting it to the first. So there's different ways on how you can do that. You can simply do 1 more linked double crochet and then just do a slip stitch, but you may find that there's a gap. Now I found a way to reduce the gap. It still kind of makes your seam visible. So that's just going to be how it is. Now, if you find another way, let me know. But for now, we're just going to do it this way. So there's 2 options, slip stitch or the way I'm going to show you. So let's start and show you that little trick. So insert your hook into that horizontal bar and pull up a loop. And now insert your hook into the last stitch right here and pull up a loop. So far it looks exactly the same. But now we're going to do a little trick here. So what we're going to do is we're going to connect it to the first stitch. Okay, so it's right here. Okay, so we're going to insert our hook into that horizontal bar of that very first stitch. Okay, and now we're going to run a loop, that means the yarn, through that horizontal bar and the first 2 stitches. So let me explain real quick here for 1 second before I actually do it so you see what I'm doing. So usually what you would do right now is yarn over and pull through 2, right? So instead of just pulling through 2, we're going to connect it to this horizontal bar. So we're actually going to go and insert a hook through it and then pull the yarn through that horizontal bar and then these 2 loops like you normally would for a double crochet. Okay, so there we go. So we have 2 loops left on our hook. And now we're going to, typically for a double crochet, you would now yarn over and pull through 2, right? But here we're trying to connect it. So we're now inserting our hook here, the top loops here through both of the first stitch. Then yarn over and pull through, and then pull through the 2 loops. There we go. So now what you did is you kind of connected it over, okay? So you finished your last stitch by still connecting it to the first stitch. So that means you don't have that weird gap here happening. And in fact, you don't even have to do a slip stitch. So it's already connected, okay? So what you're now going to do is you're going to continue on with the next round. And you're going to do it the same way as you have before. So now chain 2, insert your hook through the second chain from the hook, yarn over and pull through. insert it into the first stitch. You have 3 loops on your hook, and then finish it up like a regular double crochet, okay? And now you're going to continue on this round after round and always connecting the last stitch to the first stitch until you have 11 rounds, okay? So we just did round 1, so you can kind of see here, this is the chain here in the center of it. And if I now flip it like this, you can see this is round 1. You're going to do 11 in total. So let me show you how it looks like at the very end. There we go. So this is how it looks like once you're finished. You should have 60 stitches, or roughly, right? Measurements are the most important part when it comes to mystery crochet alongs. I really don't want you to feel upset if the tension is slightly different or of some sort, something is different. It's totally fine. Let's say stitch count, row count, whatever. Okay, so measurements is a lot more important because that keeps your happiness alive when it comes to these mysteries. So let me show you how my measurement is. So right here I have roughly 9 inches. Yeah, roughly. If I stretch a little bit, it's 9, right? It's totally fine. Roughly 9. And then upwards, it's roughly 5, as you can see. Okay, so roughly 5 times 9. So if you just stick with that, you are good to go. Okay, so even if you have more stitches, if you have more rows or less, totally fine. And as I said, right here is where the seam is, and you can see there are a few little gaps here, and that's just kind of how it works, but at least it's not a giant gap by just doing a slip stitch, right? But the seam is slightly visible. Okay. Now, you could do this in continuous rounds, but that's not going to work for this specific project. Otherwise, with linked double crochet, you just didn't have this edge there somewhere, and it just looks off. So we're just going to stick with that, okay? So this is part 1 of the mystery crochet along. So I would love to see your pictures, so make sure you post them into the Facebook group with the corresponding hashtag so I can find you and celebrate you. I usually try to make sure that I comment on every single one of you guys' post or pictures because you're amazing. You're part of the mystery crochet along. It makes it really, really fun. So, and then I would love to see you back here for part 2. And remember, if you are live at the mystery crochet along, that means today is day 1, then it means in 2 days you will see part 2. Okay, if you're watching this as a replay, you will already see part 2 appear as a video. So I will link it right here in a moment, and that way you can see it and you can click on it. But if it's not there yet, that means it's not available yet. So but make sure you are signed up for the newsletters and everything related to the mystery crochet along to keep up and know exactly when the next parts are available. I hope to see you then. Bye! Be sure to like, comment, and share this video. And be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn on the bell to get a notification next time I publish a video or go live. Now go ahead and watch the next video. You're going to want to, I promise you do.